Hi everybody, this is Shri and welcome back to my channel Vedic Living. So today we will be talking about the predictions for the upcoming month of October. If you remember from the September predictions, we talked about how there can be problems with regarding finances and economy at the level of the government. And as you know, since yesterday, the US government is at the risk of being shut down because of budget related concerns. So that is finance and that is economy and that is to do with the government. So we are in a standstill right now, as far as I know. So we'll know more in the next couple of days. There's a lot going on at that level. I think these things are important because it will expose something that needs to be resolved or fixed in the long run. So every time we see these issues happen, you have to remember it's all based on a design that this is happening. And that's what the planets are constantly doing. The planets are always moving. They're always creating these situations and circumstances around us. How we react to it is, of course, based on our level of enlightenment, our chart, and our free will. But the situations and circumstances are created by the planetary movement. So a lot of it is karmic. So everything that happens for a reason. So, even though we are going through these difficult things right now, which I know since September, we had been going through a lot of this. And remember, I told you this is going to go on till the end of the year. It's going to kind of take us, that wave is going to take us to the end of the year. And that's where we'll know why all of this had to happen. So now we go into the month of October, which is very intense. Why? Because it's the eclipse season. The eclipse season is here. Every 6 months we go through this. And remember, eclipses are not going to show an effect on the day it happens. Eclipses are seasonal. So everything that happens, or when we look at the chart of an eclipse, we see, okay, these are the effects of this eclipse. That can last from this eclipse to the next eclipse. So it's a 6-month period we are talking about here. So remember that, you won't see everything happening on the day because the eclipse is a seasonal thing, right? So whenever we talk about the October eclipse, which I'm going to talk about now, the effect will be seen till April next year. And those of you who have been watching my political prediction videos, I made a video on Donald Trump. And I did talk about how, the next coming few months from November of this year till April of next year is going to be very tough for him. And now when I talk about the eclipse, you will further understand why I said that, because the eclipses are also affecting his chart, which is the reason why that time span that we talked about, the 6-month time span, is so important. That's when all of these changes will be seen. A lot of changes that we talk about now is going to happen over the next 6 months until the next eclipse, where it gets reset. The next eclipse, it'll get reset based on whatever the energies of that eclipse is. And then that takes us for the next 6 months. So we continue this dance over and over again, twice a year. So, and we are all in this together, and we will get through this together, and we'll see what this is bringing out. It's not all that bad. There is a lot of good stuff also that happens. And us, I truly feel that even in the difficult or the challenging aspects, there's something good hidden in there. A lot of times true growth, true evolution, true spiritual enlightenment happens through challenging things that happen in your life. You would notice when you're extremely happy or everything's great in your life, you're just like complacent, you're just going on, right? But when there are difficulties, when there are challenges, you learn from them. And that's true growth. That's what we are here for. That is what this human existence is all about. So when we see these challenges, change the way you look at it. Because remember that these challenges are ultimately going to cause long-term change. That's why it's called transformation, right? So I just wanted to say that before we get into this, because, let's look at it with a different kind of mindset, okay? And then that'll help us kind of traverse this time. And, like Sri Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita, be an observer. You're observing these things and you're learning from it. Don't let whatever is happening around you, the Maya, the illusion, the stage that is set around you and the play that is being played by all these characters, don't let that get to you, because ultimately who you are is within you. Your God is within you. Your truth is within you. Your personality is within you. Your soul is within you. That's all that matters. And you can control the way you react to everything. And that changes your existence. So it all depends on the way you look at it. Okay. So that's one thing I wanted to say. Now let's go into this month's predictions. Now, before we go further, while I'm talking about these predictions, I will be talking about certain signs and certain degrees. And, if you've never had a reading and you don't know what your chart looks like, don't worry. You can go to my website, www.vedicliving.com, go to the free chart calculator, calculate your chart, and that'll give you an idea as to where your planets are sitting. And it's written in English. And, I know you don't, it may first look like Greek and Latin to you, but if you look further, you will see that it says the sun is here or the moon is here, and you'll see the signs and the planets. Okay, so you can use that to kind of guide yourself while you're listening to me talk. And that'll also help you sign up for my free newsletter. So when you're there, you can sign up for my newsletter, which will give you very detailed predictions, which I'll be sending out in the next few days. So, that'll have a lot more than this YouTube video has. Now, let's go forward. Let's start with Mercury. October 1st, Mercury will be at 0 degrees of Virgo. This is going to give a lot of relief in various areas. One, remember last month in September, we were going through Mars in Virgo. Mars is tough in Virgo. It's not easy. That's why we saw so many problems with worker strikes, riots. I think even this government shutdown that's about to happen, it can be attributed to the Mars in Virgo. Remember, we were talking about the 6-8 connections with the US chart. Because if a shutdown happens, then all those federal employees don't get paid. So that's going to cause problems and anger and frustration and violence and riots. That's Mars in Virgo. This is almost like Mars, it's still in Virgo actually, right? Mars is still in Virgo around 28 degrees. So this is kind of that last part of Mars in Virgo where it's doing something before it leaves. So don't worry about this whole government thing that's happening, because I think it's going to get resolved very soon here in the next month, because Mercury is going to take the baton now. Remember, I was talking about a relay race. Mars is going to leave Virgo. Mercury is going to come into Virgo. October 1st, Mercury is going to be entering Virgo. Mars is still there. It hasn't left. I'll tell you when it'll leave. But Mercury is going to enter at 0 degrees. Now, why is this important? Mercury loves the sign of Virgo. Virgo is all about detail-oriented stuff. Math, numbers, logic, calculation. Mercury is that. Mercury is the intellect. It's buddhi, right? In India, we call Mercury Buddh. The reason is because it's buddhi, which means intelligence. So Mercury loves to be in Virgo, and that is the reason why Mercury is exalted in Virgo. It is at the strongest position it can be in. I think this is a good thing, because it will bring a certain amount of common sense and logic and intelligence into people's minds, where, Mars earlier sitting in Virgo was just all about indignation and this is mine and this is what I'm owed, and it wasn't thinking, right? Mercury comes in with a certain amount of logic, and it says, okay, let's figure this out. Let's compromise. Let's sit down and figure it out. So I think a lot of those things you saw with Mars and Virgo, with the riots and the strikes and the writer's strike, everything that has been happening around the world, with the anger and the frustration in the working environment, those things will get resolved. Okay, with Mercury coming in. Not right away though, because remember, Mars is still there on October 1st in Virgo. Once Mars leaves, which I'm coming to, you will see more of a change in the way people accept or people approach things. They're not going to be very impulsive and, just getting angry at the drop of a hat. That won't happen. They're going to, with Mercury being in Virgo, they're going to think about it. They're going to consider things. They're going to compromise. They're going to be like, let's see how you and I can make a deal where we both benefit from it. That's Mercury in Virgo. It's intelligent. Okay, so it's a good thing that it's going into Virgo. Now, while Mercury is entering Virgo on October 1st, and will be there the whole of October, the first 2 days of October is going to be intense, October 1st and the 2nd, because Mars is still in Virgo at 28 degrees. That is intense because remember who else is at that 27, 28 degree mark? Uranus in Aries. So remember from Virgo, Mars, 6-8 aspect is falling on Uranus and Aries. That's violence. That's anger. So Mercury has just entered. It's starting to see, okay, how I can make things better here. It'll take it some time because Mars is still sitting there. But that first couple of days, October 1st, 2nd, it's going to be difficult because it's turbulent. There can be a lot of storms, unexpected events that are happening, which could be coming out of that anger, the Mars energy. So remember that just because Mercury entered Virgo, it's still at 0 degrees. It hasn't had time to make any change yet. So it doesn't mean that right away things are going to get better. Mars has to leave Virgo for that. Okay, so Mars is still there. So the first couple of days of October, expect to see some difficulties, some violence, unexpected riots, strikes. People just behave a little bit out of control with that Mars being there. And if I've told you in the past, the September video that Mars and Virgo, you have to watch your health, make sure your immunity is up. This is the time to do that. Because with Mars at 28 degrees of Virgo, it's just about to leave the sign. You have to be extra careful. Okay, so take your vitamins, make sure you're not stressed out at work, and make sure you're watching your health. As all of this is happening in Virgo, Venus is at the last few degrees of Cancer, which is a water sign. Now, Venus will enter Leo the next day on October 2nd. It'll enter Leo. So on October 1st, Venus is what we call Gandhanta, which means things are out of control. There can be floods, there can be storms, there can be all kinds of weather-related phenomenon, which is very unexpected. And also remember, we talked about how the nodes Rahu and Ketu are exactly stationed at that 1 degree mark in Aries and Libra. Remember, they are going to be there till the end of the year. They'll be exactly at that Gandhanta degree. In Aries, it's 0 degrees of Aries, and then it'll go back into 29 degrees of Pisces. Combining this with the fact that Venus is also Gandhanta, this is a time we have to watch around the world for weather disturbances, problems with catastrophes with weather. The reason I keep saying this is because I went back and did my research. The last time Rahu and Ketu were in this position was in 2004, when there was a tsunami that killed around 280,000 people. Gandhanta, water, storm, fire, disturbances, weather, all of that. That's Gandhanta. Think about that waves and the flood and all of that. So this happened the last time that the nodes were at that degree. And then also remember, when the nodes were at this point recently, we had the fires in Hawaii, in Maui. Over 100 people are still missing. There was a flood along with the fire. So again, Gandhanta, out of control. The flood in Libya, where around 11,000 people are missing. So this is the kind of energy that the Gandhanta degree can bring. So that's why I keep saying this, because the nodes are going to be there till the end of the year. We have already seen the event in Maui, the event in Libya. We went back and saw that the last time the nodes were there, we had that tsunami. And also I forgot to mention there was an earthquake in Morocco where 2,800 people died. So all of this is associated with the nodes being at that Gandhanta degree. It's very karmic. And there are all these devastation happening around the world. And, we pray for the victims and we help them in whatever way we can. But that's the energy of it. So this is going to go on till the end of the year. And the month of October is especially intense because the nodes are causing all this, right? What else is associated with the nodes? In October, we have the 2 eclipses, and they are with the nodes. So this is why October is even more intense for weather-related phenomena and catastrophes and devastation around the world. So now the October 1st, when I said Venus is going to be Gandhanta, what else does Venus signify? It signifies relationships. So this is a time you have to watch your relationships. Things can feel a little bit out of control. This is not a great time. The first couple of days of October is not a great time to have those deep, intense discussions with your spouse or with your business partner about future plans and future things that you want to do. This is not the time to do this, because when Venus is in that Gandhanta degree, things can kind of snowball into something that you didn't intend it to be. Your words can be misunderstood, and you may get into an argument or a fight, because remember, who else is still in Virgo? Mars. So this is all working together. So the first couple of days of October, just take it easy and remember that things are going to get better. And this is a time for you to focus on yourself and your karma, your action. That's it. Don't try to get into those relationship discussions and such, because things can be misconstrued. What you're saying will be misinterpreted. Okay, so that's the first couple of days. After that, on October 2nd, Venus moves into Leo. And now Leo also, because it's a fire sign, the first few degrees of Leo is still Gandhanta. Remember, Gandhanta is the last few degrees of a water sign and the first few degrees of a fire sign. Still Gandhanta, right? That's why I keep saying the first few days of October, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th maybe. After that, things will start calming down a bit in Virgo. So here's another thing with Venus and Leo. Leo is the creative sign. Venus coming into Leo makes people very creative. Now, when I think of the effect of transits, I don't think about one thing. You have to consider the whole chart, right? So Venus in Leo, creativity. Mercury in Virgo is, again, it's intelligence, writing. So when you combine the two, this is a great time this month to put your thoughts into writing. If you have been thinking about writing a journal or writing a book, or if you have been especially inspired by this imagination that, you want to put it down on paper, you want to write this novel, this is a beautiful time this month, because Venus being in Leo, you are feeling very creative. Mercury being in Virgo, you are feeling like you are able to put your thoughts into words, because Mercury is about talking, speech, writing, self-expression, and it's exalted in Virgo. And the eclipses are happening this month, which I'll be talking about more in detail in a little bit. But I want to talk about it now because the eclipses bring something that is hidden out into the open. So it's a perfect time for self-introspection. So this is a good month for you to write about what you're thinking, what you're feeling. This is going to be amazing. So it's very creative, very good time to write. Stay away from the first few days of October to speak and connect with others, because your emotions may be on an edge. The October 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Just stay away from that time. Otherwise, in the entire month, you can write, you can express yourself, you can really be creative. And all those ideas that you had in the past, remember, Mercury was retrograde last month. So you could not move forward. When Mercury is retrograde, you feel stuck. Now you will feel some energy moving forward. Okay, so that's a good thing. Mercury is no longer retrograde, and it's exalted to add to that. So this is nice. This is a good time to be creative in your writing expression. Now, October 4th is an important day. Mars, as I said, is on its way out of Virgo, right? Ketu is positioned at that 0 degree, 1 degree to 0 degree mark of Libra. So while Mars exits Virgo, it's going to enter Libra. What happens there? Mars and Ketu come together. Now, this is not a rare aspect. It happens once every 2 years. Okay, so this is not like that once in a lifetime kind of stuff that's happening. No, absolutely not. But I do want to warn you that Mars, Ketu, when they come together, it usually signifies chaos. It's that unstable energy. It's that, the atomic energy almost. Mars and Ketu coming together can be very difficult because Mars is all about that action. It's about doing, it's about out there. And Ketu is all about inside. It's introspection. When they come together, there's this kind of unstable stuff that happens that can cause a lot of chaos. Every time they come together, there's issues around the world with war and problems with violence. So October 4th is also a day to watch because of that, because it's happening at that 1 degree mark in Libra, Mars and Ketu coming together. Now, also because the eclipse is going to be around that time, around that degree, in around 10 days from there, the eclipse is going to be at that degree. So Mars is going to cross over before the eclipse happens. So I feel like whenever this happens, it's kind of this event that'll happen on October 4th that will be a precursor to whatever happens at the eclipse. Okay, so it is definitely a difficult time that Mars is coming together with Ketu. So October 4th is also a day to watch. Now, when I say these things, I want you to remember this will affect you personally if there are planets that you have at that point in your chart, in Libra at 1 degree or in Aries at 1 degree. Okay. A lot of you come to me and take readings with me, and you ask me, oh, you told me I could travel on that day, but then you went on YouTube and said, it's not a good day to travel. When I say these predictions on YouTube, it's generic, okay? It's for everybody. That's why I always tell you, make sure you look at your chart on my website and see if you have any planets there to see if it is going to affect you, okay? All these effects and transits are for world predictions. We are talking about a generic, more humanity kind of situation, right? We are not talking about individual charts here. So make sure when I'm saying these things, only if you have planets at those degrees will you be personally affected, and that's where you need to pay more attention. If you don't have planets at those degrees, this is more going to affect at a mass consciousness level. This is where people come together with a certain, like the writers' strike, or like the government shutdown, or the federal employees are getting upset they can't get paid. That's at more of a mass level, right? At the population level. Personal level, you need to have something that is getting triggered in your chart for these things to be effective. Okay, so October 4th in the world, you're going to see a lot of disturbance and unrest because of that Mars and Ketu coming together. I don't particularly like that combination so much. Even when I see it in charts, I'm a little, I always mention that there was something uncontrollable about the person's life when that comes together, because they don't play well. Mars is all about, like I said, it's physical activity, getting things done. Ketu is all about self-introspection. So it becomes this kind of tug of war between two opposites. So just remember that that's that day when that happens. It's not a great day to start something new. You can be a little confused. You can feel conflicted about things. Mars rules real estate. So when it comes with Ketu, it can really affect that real estate market and the economy. So, just hang on for a couple more days before you make major decisions about buying or selling property and those kind of things. Okay. On October 14th is going to be the solar eclipse. This is a big one. Remember, I was telling you the 6-month period. October 14th at 1:56 p.m. Eastern Time, the solar eclipse is going to happen in Virgo at 27 degrees. This eclipse is a little different from previous eclipses that we've seen because the sun and moon are going to be in that Virgo Pisces axis, but the nodes which create the eclipse are still in Aries and Libra at that 1 degree, 0 degree mark. So they are cross signs. Okay, now that's not very uncommon because in the sky, there's no demarcation, right? That says this is a sign. The planets don't care. They are where they are. It's still an eclipse because they are really close. Okay, but the nodes are not exactly at the same degree as the sun and the moon. Now, there is going to be a lot of contention during this eclipse because the signs that are impacted, Virgo, Pisces, They have to do with health, healing, and your spiritual growth. Pisces is all about spirituality. And then you have Aries and Libra, which are the opposite of that, because it's the natural first and the seventh house. So it is very much in the world, in the physical world. It's yourself and your partner. Okay. So you have this kind of extreme kind of energy around this eclipse, because Pisces is the end of the zodiac where moksha happens or liberation happens. Spirituality is what is the biggest deal of Pisces. And the nodes are in Aries, which is the beginning. It's new beginnings. So it really does, in all possible ways, the solar eclipse signifies an ending and a beginning. And it is very important because it's in these signs, it affects leadership, world leaders. And there is going to be events this month, especially around the eclipse time. And remember, the energy is lasting for 6 months. From October this year till April of next year, this eclipse energy will last. And because it is so unique in the way that there is a liberation and a moksha sign involved, and then there is a new beginning kind of situation involved, but this will affect world leadership. I think there's going to be some, it does signify endings. Country leaders can step down, or, they may have to be replaced for some other reason. And there's going to be new beginnings where new people will step up to the plate. So this is unique, but because it's an eclipse, it always brings something that is hidden out into the open. So once those things are exposed, once those hidden things are exposed, there is peace. People feel better about themselves. And then that's the new beginning. So it's going to start with some difficulties. That's why I said till the end of this year is going to be tough, especially in the chart. If you saw, I did the charts of Donald Trump, and I'm going to do the chart of Joe Biden, which will be coming out next week. Both of these charts are very seriously impacted by this eclipse. So going from this eclipse, which is October 2023 till April of 2024, both these individuals are severely impacted, where they can be going through a lot of difficulties. In Donald Trump's chart, I see 12th house matters, which can mean prison, which can mean endings, which can mean that he has to go through major change in the way he's thinking or his transformation, or he has to do things in a different way to kind of get to the goal that he wants to get to. This is not a good time for him. He's going to go through a lot of losses between now till April. And same with Joe Biden, because in his chart also that sign of Scorpio is getting affected, right, by this whole deal. Because when we talk about the nodes, Rahu is in that 6-8 relationship with the sign of Scorpio. That's why both Donald Trump and Joe Biden are affected by this eclipse. So it'll be a very intense time for them until the next eclipse, and then, things will get better. Now, in your personal life, this eclipse is going to be, like I said, because it's that in 2 different signs, it is going to bring a sense of like, you feel confused about things in the beginning. You feel like, should I do this? Should I not do this? There's this conflict going on mentally. But once you go in deep into yourself and that introspection happens, remember Pisces is involved in this eclipse, which means you have to go inside for the answer. The answer is not going to come from outside or from anybody else. It's going to come from within. So remember to tap into that, do that introspection, and the answer will come out. Then things will get better. And that's that going from dark to light eclipse energy. So October, from this year, October till April of next year, your life is going to go through a lot of transformation. And in the sign by sign prediction video, you're going to see how or which area it's going to affect you in. Now, because the solar eclipse is in Virgos, we still are in that health crisis kind of situation, because Virgo does rule health. So continue to take care of your health and make sure you don't take too much stress, and keep your immunity levels up. At the end of the month, on October 28th, the lunar eclipse happens. The lunar eclipse is happening at 11 degrees of Aries, and it's an interesting lunar eclipse because it is conjunct with all those different planets. Mercury and Mars are all conjunct the moon and the sun and the nodes. Everything is in the Aries Libra axis when this lunar eclipse happens on October 28th. What does that signify? Partnerships. It's relationships, business partnerships, any one-on-one discussions that you have, that is all the 1-7 axis. And it is all about that tug of war between taking care of yourself in your interests as well as thinking about the other person. That's where that tug of war is going to happen. Now, because Mars is involved, this can be violent. Sometimes the end of the month is going to have a little bit of violence associated with it. And, again, all over the place, I see politics. I see leaders. I see country heads getting affected. So the end of the month is also not a great time for, the leadership. Now, this lunar eclipse is also affected by Saturn. Almost all the planets in the sky are coming together in this lunar eclipse, which is the end of this month, which I think shows people coming together for a common goal. And Saturn is sitting at 6 degrees of Aquarius and, if aspecting by the third aspect, this lunar eclipse. Jupiter and Rahu and Uranus are there with the moon, and we have Sun sitting with Mars in Libra. So almost everybody is there. So this is a time when people are going to come together for a common goal, but at the same time, because Mars is involved, there'll be a lot of problems with anger and violence. Now, these are the overall predictions for the month of October, but I want to remind you that when I put out my sign-by-sign predictions, you can see how this will personally affect you based on where your Lagna or your moon is. But again, because this is such an intense month with so much going on in terms of weather phenomenon and world leaders and catastrophes and economy and money and finances and budget, you have to constantly remember to be connected to yourself, to who you are truly. Find your truth. Don't go by what is being told to you. Don't follow what you're seeing outside, because it's all being orchestrated. It's a grand stage where everything is being orchestrated. Listen to your truth, connect to yourself, and find that peace from within as we go through this time, because everything that's happening now is absolutely needed for long-term healing. And that's where this is all going. So with that being said, I want to thank you for watching my video, and I'll come back to you with the sign-by-sign predictions. Namaste.